welcome. I'm Nira Berry, life and happiness coach and your host of Happy and Healthy, where we explore and discover all the many ways of keeping you feeling happy and healthy. And remember to stay tuned to the end for my Good to Know segment, where I've always got something good to share with you. So today we're going to learn all about eating fresh and all about farmers markets. So please welcome my guests. I have Debra Moser and Mitch Berliner of the Central Farm Markets. You're co-founders of it. And I'm just so excited to learn all about it. It's fascinating. I bet most people don't know the workings in and out of it, and looking forward to learning about it. So first let me ask you, what is a farmer's market?
Well, you know, historically, farmers markets have been around since forever. And it was a way for the local farmer to bring his goods to a central place and sell them. Today, farmers markets are a little bit more involved. They not only host farmers, but they host specialty food vendors, and a lot of other things, prepared foods, foods to go. And in our case of our farm markets, they're like a village green because they include a lot of activities, a lot of community activities. So it became more of a comprehensive village green meeting place and farmers market.
Yeah, it sounds like it's just a really fun experience altogether. It's like, you know, you're going there to buy stuff, but there's so much else going on. So why don't you tell me, Mitch, why don't you tell me, how did you start it? Like, why did you start it?
Well, I was always interested in farms. I grew up in an area where there were still farms, and as a kid we used to go ride our bikes by the farms and walk through the fields, and I had a cousin that had a 5-acre farm. And I was just fascinated about the way things grow. And I was very fortunate growing up in the 1950s and 60s that my parents ate really good food. We never had soda or candy and things like that. And they used to even take us out to farms to buy, you know, local tomatoes and corn. So it's always been in our family's blood to do this. And when I graduated college, I had a degree in computers. And I decided I don't want to sit behind a desk all day long wearing a suit. And so the first thing I did when I was 22 is I started farmers markets right here in Montgomery County and had 4 farmers markets. And then ultimately I ended up in the specialty ice cream and specialty food distribution business. But when I sold my interest 12 years ago, I really wanted to go back to my real passion of
your first love.
My first love, after Debbie.
Yeah, and, of course.
And goes without saying. And so I was very surprised, candidly, that Bethesda did not have a comprehensive farmers market. And so I approached Federal Realty and discussed the idea and told them with another friend, Dan Brody, who was also a veteran of the food business, hey, we'll help you out. Why don't you start a farmer's market? It's the demographics, the density.
Yeah,
it's perfect for a farmer's market in downtown Bethesda.
And especially in the whole Washington area region, right?
Oh, yes, indeed. But Bethesda in particular did not have a comprehensive farmer's market. So we met with Federal Realty people, and they said it was a fabulous idea, and they didn't know anything about it, and would we do it? And like a moron, I said yes, and so here we are. 12 years later.
That's wonderful. So tell us, I know like the produce is really the most shopped around, item that you would buy at a grocery store or other places. So what is the difference between buying produce in a farmer's market?
Well, there's a big difference. The produce you find in a farmer's market has been picked that day. Even some mornings they'll get up and pick early, or the day before.
That's amazing. Like
it
that
is amazing.
day.
That day.
So like the nutrients are,
They're really fresh. They haven't been transported across country or coming up through Mexico or Canada. And so they haven't traveled all that way. Often when fruits and vegetables have been traveling, they've been picked unripe, and they are maybe treated with some gas or something to ripen them up. These are ripe. When they come to the farmer's market, you get them at their peak. And the farmers will wait. They'll say they're not ready this week, but next week they're ready for picking. So they know exactly when to pick them and when you should have them.
Because they must have regular customers that come back and they trust them.
Do.
Yeah, because I know like a lot of times I'll go to the grocery store and buy something that looks so delicious and looks like it's ripe, and even like let's say a watermelon, and you slice it open and it looks red and everything,
Exactly.
but
Exactly.
it tastes like celery sometimes. You know, it's so disappointing.
Well, there's not only, of course, the ripeness factor, but what a lot of people really don't know, you also have different varieties that are grown for the supermarket industry. And the reason for that is it's got to transport a long time.
Stay on the shelf
Tomatoes
longer.
are a perfect example of that. We have heirloom tomatoes at the market almost 11 months a year. They're thin-skinned, they're full of flavor, they're ripe. You can't stack them. They're in little trays.
Yeah.
And that's how, and they are not going to last a month, not even, barely a week. And so you'll have different varieties in addition to the fact that in the supermarket industry, produce, fruits and vegetables are not picked ripe.
Yeah, and of course when things are picked, that morning or the day before, besides the nutrients that are still there, the taste is there, and then you're also, you know what you're getting and everything. So what's the biggest misconception that people might have about farmers markets, or what do you feel is misunderstood?
Well, I think one of the things they don't understand is that you can't just come and set up a tent. And we get a lot of questions like that.
For the vendors.
For the vendors, yeah. How do I get a table here? I grow tomatoes in my backyard. This is a highly regulated, in Montgomery County, it's highly regulated. You need health department certification. If you're preparing food, you need a commercial kitchen. We hold all those licenses. If you're a meat vendor, you're going to have USDA stamps on the meat, on the package. Egg people who sell eggs, they have to have egg licenses.
Wow.
And so there's a lot more that goes into this. And then on top of that, we require that you have some experience, because while it looks like it can be fun, when it's raining or it's coming sideways and sleeting, and we're out there year round.
So rain or shine.
Rain or shine. And some days it's a little less than fun. Most days it looks like a lot of fun. But you have to be prepared, and you have to know that this is really hard work.
Yeah. And you're supporting the local farmers.
We're supporting local farmers. We've also been an incubator for small businesses. So sometimes we'll have a vendor that, say, is making jams or jellies or chocolates or pickles. And they start at the farmers markets, or salad dressing. She's a good example that we have at our markets. And then they get into Whole Foods, or they get onto other grocery shelves. So they move out of the mom and pop stage and at the market, the little stand, and they actually go into the wholesale business. So we feel fortunate that we've been able to incubate those.
Yeah, that's really cool that you're supporting the local farmers and giving them, that's so important. And I know that your farm markets are really people really like to go there. I mean, I think I read that you had like 500,000 visits or something.
We get a lot of visits per year. If you get, especially our bigger markets, if you go on a Sunday, you'll see they get crowded early, and there's a reason. People like to come, they like to stay, and they like to sit, shop, talk to their friends, have a cup of coffee, have a sweet with it, have breakfast, have lunch. So it becomes, listen to the music. It becomes a whole day of activities.
It's an event,
It's an event. Exactly.
Wow,
exactly.
You really made it special. So, for those people out there that maybe are novices at the farmers market, or maybe you've never been to one, what tips could you offer them? Like, what are some things that, let's say for a newbie,
Newbies. We love newbies.
Yeah.
Attention, everybody. We love newbies.
What should they know ahead of time?
Well, one of the things that you have to realize when you go to a farmer's market anywhere on planet Earth is that you're going to have to eat seasonally. So that's a big part of going to a farmer's market. We personally and our patrons think it's a great way to eat, and until the modern era, that's the way everybody ate. You ate what was at a specific season, and that's what you had. And you just stuff yourself up with strawberries, and when that's over, you're on to blueberries and blackberries and raspberries and peaches and nectarines and apricots, et cetera, et cetera. So you just learn to eat seasonally, And so that's a big part of the farm market experience and the farm market culture. Now, having said that, we have several very sophisticated farmers that have greenhouses. One in particular, Toigo, has 5 acres under glass. So we have heirloom tomatoes starting at the end of February. So we do have.
You don't expect it, yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
cucumbers
it's
and-
cucumbers and cherry tomatoes and eggplants and you name it. So we have a wide variety. So it's not like you can be super limited, but don't expect to get peaches because the peaches you're going to see in January and February, and grapes, they're coming from Chile.
Yeah.
And again, just what we spoke about, they're not going to have the taste and all that kind of stuff. Our simple test for tree-ripened peaches and fruit like that, nectarines, if you can eat it standing up straight, it's not good. You have to eat it like this because the juice is just going to come dripping down your chin. So that's an official farm market taste.
That's a really good tip.
It is. But the other thing is certainly you can find Debra and I at any of the markets, but even more importantly, you can ask the farmers, what's this, what's that? We have a lot of things that you're not going to see in the supermarket or it's not there, or you don't have nobody to ask in the supermarket, hey, what is this? What's fennel? What is that? How do you prepare it? You know, no one's going to be able to tell you that in the produce section for the most part. But we do, and we have a lot of things that you won't find in the supermarket. We'll have fresh garlic, not the usual dried garlic, and lots of other things. And so ask the farmer. Ask,
So you can ask them how to actually prepare it.
Exactly.
And
And then
then
we
good
have
tips on what to do with it.
And then we have it go back the other way. Sometimes we have patrons that will tell the farmer, I bought this last week from you, and let me tell you how I prepared it. And so they share recipes and exchange ideas.
we see patrons do that all the time also. Patrons will be speaking, what is this? And another patron will chime in, and that's very common. So people
They
love
teach each other.
There's a lot of communications. This is really interesting. There are a lot of communications in farmers markets, not just ours. People really talk to each other. There's very little communication done in traditional
That's
grocery
true.
stores. You
That's
go
very
in
true.
and you're lucky if you paper or plastic.
Yeah, that's a
That's
very
it.
good point. So we're going to just take a short break now, and so stay tuned for the next segment, and we'll be right back.
I've got a job to do today.
I've got a job to do today.
Have a good first day at work, Mom.
Your donations to Goodwill fund job training programs right in your community.
Feels good to start fresh, right?
Sure does.
And like that, you're a job creator.
Hi, welcome back. I'm Nira Berry, your host of Happy and Healthy, and we're going to continue learning about tips that we can all use when we shop at our local farmers market. So why don't you continue and tell me, what are some other tips that we may want to utilize?
Well, one thing you should do is come early, especially in the summer. Because A, it gets hot later on, and B, some of the produce goes really quickly. So people line up and they want the best of the best, and so it
especially
will
the
go
good stuff,
The good stuff. Another tip is to bring lots of shopping bags. You want to have enough so that you can put everything in them and carry them back. And if you can't carry them, we have a service at our concierge tent, at our info tent.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow,
we have a
this is
concierge.
very...
Just leave your bags there, and we will take them to the car for you. So that's something that we added into our markets. Go around, check out the market first. Before you decide, this is the tomato I want, go around and see what everybody has. We have a reason for putting different farmers in the farmers market. It may look like everybody has tomatoes, but they're not all the same, and there's a reason that they're there. They may be heirloom, they may be, a different kind. So check things out first, scope it out.
Oh, I see.
And then use the info tent for info. They often will say, the chef is here today cooking, or we have a pop-up vendor who has liquor today. We have distilleries that come, wineries that come. So check out the info tent, see what's going on. I think those are kind of some of the better ones.
Yeah, those are really good tips, and also I believe, like, like the vendors nowadays, like they don't just take cash, but they also
Right.
take credit cards.
They all
you know,
take
'cause
almost
people like the
everyone.
convenience
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
That's
Yeah, and it's convenient on both ends. So yes,
Yeah.
bring your credit cards.
yeah.
Now, one of the things that we also did right from day one was, in order to let the seasons be as long as possible, our farmers come from the northern neck of Virginia all the way up through central Pennsylvania.
Oh, that's
And
a
that
great
was
idea.
on purpose. So there'd be 3 to 5, 6 weeks even sometimes ahead on strawberries. So when their strawberries are done and they're on to blueberries, as an example, then here in Maryland, etc. And then when that's gone, in Pennsylvania. So each time, by doing that, by having these farmers from a big distance in the region, we're able to have the longest season possible for each variety of produce.
That's wonderful. So you must have a really good connection with all the farmers, and so do you
We
have?
do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you give an example of like a farmer that you work with.
Well, we have several that
Yeah.
have been with us for almost 12 years.
Yeah.
From the northern neck, as Mitch mentioned, Westmoreland Berry Farm, Westmoreland Produce, 2 different farms, 2 different sets of products. And then up north, Toygo, Toygo Orchards in Twin Springs. Those are big fruit farms.
So you know the people really well.
We know them.
and,
We've been to
yeah,
their
it's like a
farms.
family.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and what's fun about the farm market is we are a family.
Yeah.
And in our markets, and it's been said between the vendors, they're all friends and they help each other out and they know each other. So when a baby is born, everybody knows about it. When somebody's parent passes away, everybody
Yeah.
knows about it. We all come together. So it really has become a family environment.
Oh, that's so nice. I bet you there's like a lot of funny stories. Do you have any
It's
funny
great. For me personally, I just love the kids. I used to teach elementary school, so I love the kids. And watching them grow up over these last 11,
Yeah.
12 years has just been terrific. And I think one of the funniest stories I have, this has happened multiple times. Kids that end up, I see their mom's pregnant, and the kids are born. They'll be there within the first week of their birth. It's unbelievable. I said, well, did you just have that baby? Yeah, and they're there. And so then the kids enter kindergarten, and these are the kids that live in the immediate neighborhood. And I say, well, where are you going to school? And they would look me straight in the face and they go, at the farmer's market.
Oh,
So
that's so
that's
sweet.
their
One of
point
our
of
farm-
reference.
That's her-
It's on the elementary school
Yeah.
lot, so they equate farmers market with the elementary school.
Oh,
so
that's
it's
so
pretty.
cute.
It's very funny.
So what's your typical shopper? Typical customer.
Wow, I don't think we have a typical
Yeah.
customer. We have so many. It's a very diverse crowd. In all, each market has a different personality. It draws from a different area. There is no typical market. I would say the one thing that everybody has in common that comes to the farm markets is a concept of healthy lifestyle. So you don't find people smoking there. You won't see that. But you will find girls that come, or men and women that come from yoga or that have been biking or running, and they come to the farm market then to go shopping after their exercise. And so we see a lot of that, but we see a lot of people who are what we call foodies and love to cook and want to get into the food world. So we see a lot of that. There's similarities in that way, and then there are uniquenesses.
Yeah, and they're looking for healthy food.
They're
So not all the food is organic, right?
That's correct.
Some of it is. But what about genetically modified food?
Well, most of the products that we have are not genetically modified. It's what the farmers bring. They're bringing, and I mentioned it earlier, they're bringing, in the case of tomatoes and peaches, these are varieties that have been around for a long time. They call them heirlooms because people save the seeds.
So if something's called heirloom, so that's a good tip, that's
Right.
something that's
Sort of like a
non-GMO.
heritage. Think of an old
Yeah.
breed of vegetable.
Yeah.
It may not be something that you can transport 3,000 miles away,
Yeah.
and it's going to keep 3 months, in the chain of distribution.
Yeah.
So heirloom is usually a good hint that it's really about taste. And in the past, farmers would save the seeds, and they still do. And this is the tastiest tomato, so I'm going to save the seeds from that one for the next year. So we have a lot of that. We even have customers that travel abroad or are born overseas, and they will bring seeds from different cucumbers and things like that and give it to some of their favorite farmers, and they'll plant it. So we have different varieties you're not going to see anywhere.
Wow, I know that when I was there last, there was somebody selling kale that was so sweet you could just eat it out of the bag. I mean, it didn't have that typical kind of bitter kale taste, and it was just like, I've just never seen that anywhere else.
And
tasted it.
That's a reaction we get a lot. I had somebody come, I had a flat of strawberries behind one of the tents one day that I had purchased, and she came over and she said, "Oh, are those your strawberries?" I said, "Yes, taste one." And she tasted it, and her expression on her face is something we see all the time. It's utter surprise. And then she said, "Oh my gosh, I don't have to put sugar on these." And I said, "No, you don't put sugar on them."
I know,
So,
that's the truth, that, a lot of times when you buy things elsewhere that's been, shipped across the country, that you're expecting it to taste a certain way, and you feel like you want to add the sweetener to it.
Yeah, you want to taste your food, not something else on it.
Yeah, and then it also goes into different areas of healthy eating, is that you feel satiated, that you feel like, wow, your taste buds are, just really alive, with taste, and so it allows you to be more mindful and really enjoy it, right?
People always ask me, for advice. I'm not a trained nutritionist, but I just remind people that
oh, come on, you can tell me you are.
Basically, what you learned in kindergarten: eat real food. Eat something from all the food groups. And with that in mind, it was very important for us when we founded the market that we have produces, of course, as you said, is the #1 attraction, but we have meat, we have a fabulous fishmonger, we have a huge selection of cheeses, eggs, baked goods, homemade pickles, all kinds of specialty foods. So you really can do, if you're willing to basically eat seasonally, you could do your shopping there, and many people do. And they tell us they don't go to the supermarket at all for any food.
So let's say like somebody that doesn't really know, what to buy, or like maybe you could give us some tips on what to look for in certain foods that you tell, okay, is it ready to eat? Sometimes we don't know. Like,
well, I have a better idea.
Yeah.
Mitch and I are at each market.
Yeah.
One of us is at a market all the time. Come and find us, and we will take you on a market tour, and we will show you what's good.
You'll squeeze the fruit or the.
Right, we'll show you how to pick it ripe. What's in season. I had a woman last week ask me why there were no watermelons at the market, and I said they hadn't come into season yet. So we can take you around, show you. Very often they don't realize there's a fishmonger there. So come get one of us, and we're happy to give you a tour of the market.
So if you were going to tell them about, let's say, picking cantaloupes, what would you tell them? Like what to look for? Just the smell.
The smell.
Because a lot of times people kind of pound on it, they
Well,
knock on
watermelons,
it, see if it's hollow.
with watermelons, there's a trick with knocking, and you can certainly ask the farmers. But peaches and things like that give out a fragrance when they're ripe. I mean, that's sort of nature's way for animals to know that it's ripe and at its peak. So cantaloupes and peaches and nectarines and things like that.
Smell.
And then, of course, you have, color. So you take the strawberries as an example. So when it's nice, bright, and red, that's when it's ripe on the strawberries.
Yeah.
But
and they will put samples out.
Oh, yeah.
So that you can taste it, and they'll say, here's a sample of this, a sample of that. And honestly, if you go over and you say, could I taste that, whatever it is, they will give you a taste of it. They'll cut right into it.
That's wonderful.
And it's important to eat the rainbow. There's a lot of talk about that.
Yes.
So eat some green, yellow,
blue.
All the things. We have 3 different kinds of carrots, 3 different colors. So eat the rainbow of colors.
Well, that's really good advice, and good for us to live by. It's very important. So if somebody wanted to find out where you are, how to reach you, can you give us your website?
Yes, it's centralfarmmarkets, plural.com.
Okay, great. That's wonderful. Because I know like everybody's going to be just like, you know, running towards it now because you made everything sound so delicious.
Well, we have
I
4
know.
farm markets in the area, so there's one near you and
Yeah.
easy to get to.
That's wonderful. So, you know, if I asked you like, what is your favorite food that you maybe, you know, if you went there to, you know, what would be like the one thing you definitely wouldn't leave without?
Well, for me, it's tomatoes in the winter.
Yeah.
So the fact that because it used to be because we eat the seasons, I would have to wait for tomatoes until the first tomatoes came in. Now, because as Mitch mentioned, the greenhouses, we get tomatoes in February. So that, to me, that's the best thing that ever happened.
Yeah, I bet. And what's your favorite?
I think there's nothing better than tree ripened fruit like peaches and nectarines. You know, when you have to eat it like this, you know it's really the time. And, you know, you have to eat it by the season. And when the peaches are in season, as an example, you know, bully peaches twice, 3 times a day. You can grill them. You can put them in pies. You can eat
Yeah.
them as a snack.
Oh, well, you're getting me like all hungry right now. So, so I thank you both for being here today
Thank you.
and just helping us explore all this interesting stuff about your farm markets, essential farm markets. So thank you so much. And
Nira.
I'm Nira Berry, your host, and stay tuned for my Good to Know segment. And so we'll be right back. Hi, welcome. I'm Nira Berry, your host of Happy and Healthy and Life and Happiness Coach. And now it's time for my Good to Know segment. And now, as part of my series on staying healthy in life and at work and having enough energy, I want to talk to you a little bit about eating healthy. And you know, do you ever notice that like after you eat something, you might feel a little sluggish or maybe even a little cranky? And so there's a lot of research that's really come out about the modern American diet, and sometimes people call it MAD. And it has to do with eating a lot of processed food and just really low quality food. And they say the more you eat of it, that it really brings on a greater risk of getting depression, anxiety, even mood swings. And they've shown that young adults who eat a lot of junk food have like an 80% chance of having depression. So, you know, and there's other culprits as well. For instance, do you know that there's the chemicals such as BPA in like the canned food that you eat and also the actual containers of your food? Then you say, okay, Nira, what can I do? And as a life coach, I recommend just going back to the basics. You don't do any extreme diets. Don't eat like grapefruit, you know, 24 hours a day or just a cabbage soup. You know, just try to like really make friends with the ingredients and just really get to know them. You know, you can shop at a local farmer's market and purchase really fresh food. And that way you'll know you're getting the maximum nutrition. And also I would recommend maybe being mindful of what you're eating. Really think about where it came from, where it's harvested, and what nutrition you're going to get out of it. And that'll really be one of the paths to happiness because you'll feel better, you'll feel balanced, and you'll just feel happy all along. So thank you so much. I'm Nira Berry, your host of Happy and Healthy and the Happiness Coach. And if you want to reach me, you can contact me at niraberry.com. And you've been watching Happy and Healthy, and I wish you all a happy day.